anybody could make songs like Daniel Johnston did. After all he had was just a basement, a tape recorder, a chord organ, and a voice. Yet he created masterpieces. He did so much with so little. Daniel was definitive proof that you didn't need a whole lot of extensive training or a whole lot of fancy equipment or anything of the sorts to express yourself musically. Just look at him. He had this little squeaky, scratchy voice, sounded like a little kid, and his instrument of choice was a literal child's toy. Yet that didn't stop him. He didn't care what anyone had to say about his music. He made music because he loved music. He had a song in his heart and he just wanted to let it out. He did what he loved and he loved what he did. And that's what being a true artist is all about. Daniel was the embodiment of art. He really was. So honest, so open-hearted. He had soul and passion in everything he did. And that's why I love him so much. He had created his own little world up inside of his head. A magical, whimsical, wonderful, childish little world that you just couldn't help but get stuck in. A magical little world filled with all sorts of characters like Jeremiah the Frog and Joe the Boxer. Just so creative. But unfortunately, all this creativity came from a much, much darker place, unfortunately. He was stricken with both schizophrenia and bipolar for almost his entire life, so he really, really struggled. In fact, his schizophrenia actually led him to believe that demons were trying to take over his mind. Like, he had these terrifying nightmares that Satan was literally trying to enter his brain so he could take over it. Could you imagine anything more terrifying than that? Jesus, my God. But Daniel had one thing going for him. He said to himself, he had one good thing that he did, and that was create art. He had boundless creativity, and he tried to cast those demons right out of his head. And I sure hope he did. I know Daniel is in heaven right now because he's already been through hell. We love you, Daniel. This is the top 11 songs of yours. Rest in peace, man.
He was smiling through his own personal hell. Dropped his last dime in a wishing well, but he was hoping too close and then he fell. Now he's Casper, the friendly ghost.
If you guys know me, then you guys know that I always like to start off my lists with a nice deep cut. But since Daniel Johnston is lo-fi, pretty much all of his songs are deep cuts, so I just wanted to pick a song that I don't see many Daniel Johnston fans talk about. And I think the best song that no one ever mentions is Idiot's End off his very first album. Excellent piano work, lyrically clever, dramatic, and probably one of his best songs ever. It shows that he was a genius from the very start. Daniel was the voice for the lonely, the forgotten, the broken, and in Hey Joe, he calls out to all of them, telling them, hey, it's gonna be okay. There's a heaven and there's a star for you. And that's such a beautiful message. A beautiful message. To some people, this song may sound clunky or awkward, but to me, it's the sound of hope. And it's heartbreakingly beautiful in that way. On the surface, it appears that Casper the Friendly Ghost is just your simple, playful, key-mashing ode to a classic cartoon character. But the deeper you delve into the lyrics, the more you begin to realize that this song, in fact, deals with such heavy topics as isolation and death. These are two things that Daniel would deal with extensively in his songs. But the real genius is how Daniel connects Casper's story to his own life, his own isolation, his own obsession with death. My favorite line in the song is probably, "Everybody respects the dead," which is really ironic for me because I only discovered Daniel after he died. It's kind of funny how a guy who spent most of his career writing weird underground lo-fi stuff was also capable of writing a perfect pop song as gorgeous as Honey, I Sure Miss You. But hey, that's Dan for you. He was a natural songwriter. And Honey is probably his most accessible as well as one of his prettiest songs to date. And that's saying a lot because he's written some fine melodies. I just love how Daniel was able to observe the human heart at its simplest form. Such a pure, innocent soul, and this song is proof of that. If Don't Let the Sun Go Down in Your Grievances was done by a big-name rock band, this would be a stadium-filling anthem. But in the hands of Daniel Johnston and his little chord organ, it's something so much better than that. You gotta love just how much Daniel is getting into the music. He is absolutely jubilant. His voice is cracking, things are getting a little crazy, but it doesn't matter. He's so into it that you just want to get into it. And the little jam at the end there, perfect. It's sloppy, but damn is it beautiful. It's beautiful. Just like you, Daniel. You're beautiful. Anyone who's ever felt alone can relate to this song. It is truly the anthem of all social outcasts, and it's also part of the reason why so many people find Daniel so darn relatable at times. He puts himself in these very vulnerable positions that people can relate to and thus make connections with. Also, this is just a side note, but Loner's voice cracks, legendary. Adds so much feeling, so much emotion. They're so perfectly timed that the song would not be the same without them. By 1990, Daniel's life was falling to pieces. He was going off to a mental hospital. Most of his songs were thrown together. He was not in good shape. But Some Things Last a Long Time served as a bright spot during his darkest hour. It's one of his most powerful, touching songs in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, I love all the old, scratchy lo-fi recordings he made, but something about the greatly improved sound quality gives it this great, fresh, new sense of self-actuality and clarity. It's easily one of his most realized songs, and it never gets old when you hear it either. What a perfect song. Spirit World Rising is the perfect representation of what was going on in Daniel's psyche. Daniel had a good, clean, pure heart that was constantly at the risk of being perverted by evil and darkness, and often was. Just like the Velvet Underground's Heroine, one second this song is beautiful and heavenly and solemn, almost a prayer, and then he just goes into this descending, terrifying chord progression, and it gets all dark and creepy almost. This song commands your respect. It's almost a hallowed refrain. Like when you hear it, you want to give it all of your attention. It has such a presence. It's almost epic and grand in Daniel's little lo-fi way. There's really no song quite like it. All I know is that when I listen to it, there's something so special and just different about it, It's definitely not of this earth. And that's not going to be the first time I'm going to say that about a Daniel Johnston song. Spirit World Rising, definitely one of the best songs he ever wrote. It's sparse, it's simple, yet it's enormous, grand, and majestic. I love how personal all of Daniel's songs were. It's like he took out his heart and laid it on the line for all to see. How many other artists do that? He never seemed to shy away from sharing his fears or doubts or insecurities or struggles at all. He just let them out. He wrote about those struggles because he felt those struggles. And through his art, people were able to see his struggles, even if they couldn't feel them for themselves. It wasn't just mental illness that Daniel suffered with. He also experienced a distinct lack of appreciation and support from the people around him. At school, he was a loner, he was the class weirdo, and even at home, his parents would constantly berate him, telling him, "You're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything." How wrong were they? So Daniel would channel all of his fears, all of his doubts, all of his insecurities, all of his struggles, and he would channel them into his music. Genius. And there's no other place where he expresses these feelings better than in Story of an Artist. It's an autobiographical song about his daily struggles as an artist, how people would always criticize him, how people would always look down on him. Yet despite all that, he would always keep pushing on because he is an artist. Daniel could make meaningful art out of the smallest of things. For instance, he wrote a song questioning the purpose of life, inspired by an ice cream wrapper. Walking the Cow has a lot of emotional weight for me because not only was it the first Daniel Johnston song I ever heard in my life, but I also first heard it on the day he died. Everything about this song is so captivating. The first time I heard Walking the Cow was just like the first time I ever heard the Velvet Underground, or the first time I ever heard David Bowie. It was an alien, out-of-this-world experience. Everything about it was just so intriguing. The squeaky, high-pitched vocals, the pounding chord organ, the lo-fi recording, the title of the song, everything about it just was so odd. But I loved it so much. Walking the Cow was not of this world. It was of Daniel's world.
Don't let the sun go down on your grievance. Respect love of the heart over lust of the flesh.
Believe me, it was so tough picking just one #1 Daniel Johnston song. He's written so many simply incredible numbers that I feel like it would almost be a little unfair if I picked one song over another. But I finally came to a conclusion. Because every single time I thought of Daniel Johnston, the first song that always popped up in my mind was True Love Will Find You in the End. If there was one song by him that everyone had to listen to, it would be this one. It's just him and an acoustic guitar, but he really doesn't need anything else. It's beautifully simple and simply beautiful, and it has a very inspiring, hopeful message to it as well. In this song, Daniel says that true love will find you in the end. But there's a catch to this promise. Instead of just waiting around, waiting for true love to find you, Daniel is saying, you gotta get up. You gotta go actively searching for true love. And then, only then, will true love find you. If you find it first. Isn't that a great message? It's songs like True Love Will Find You in the End. It's songs like Story of an Artist. It's songs like Walking the Cow that make me love Daniel. He was a true artist. He was brilliant. And I hope true love found him in the end. Well guys, that was my video. I hope y'all liked it. I also hope that after this video is over, y'all will go check out Daniel Johnston for yourselves. Because he was a true artist that spoke straight from his heart. If you listen to him and you don't really like him, then that's okay. That's perfectly understandable. There's a lot of things about Daniel that turn people off. But if you listen to him and you do like him, then I promise you, you are in store for something truly special and truly amazing. Daniel was a master songwriter and a true artist, and he will be missed. Rest in peace.